If I were to ask you what made a good piece of art in any medium, it's likely that depending on the medium, you give a different answer. Maybe a memorable movie with a compelling cast of characters, or a video game that had you die over and over within a well-crafted gameplay loop. Perhaps a painting packed with rich visuals, or an overpowering orchestration that pulls you in with a barrage of baroque melodies, or even a book acting as a bastion against boredom as you turn page after page after page. What if I told you that in all these examples, whether you see create cinema, animation, video games, literature, music, board games, illustration, philosophy, or even YouTube videos, there are just 3 things that you require. Universally among all art in all mediums, there are 3 titular tenets which make them worthwhile, those being connection, continuity, and contextualization. The most fitting example to prove this principle is language. Language offers us 3 things: the ability to make connections, the ability to formulate continuity, and the ability to coax contextualization. Whether literal or metaphorical, connection is a string that connects 2 distinct entities. If I were to say the word dog, a dog would pop into your head. Why? Because your brain connects the vibrations we call the word dog with the 4-legged furry animals. If I were to say the word canine, your brain would understand I was talking about dogs, but more specifically, dog-like entities. But if I were to say table, your brain would understand I wasn't talking about dogs, but it'd still understand that both dogs and tables are nouns, so they're interchangeable in sentences, like I like dogs, I like tables, for example, or my dog ate my homework and my table ate my homework. The second example doesn't make much sense, but it's far from gibberish, and there are thousands, maybe millions of connections just like this in English language and languages across the world. These cascading connections are referred to as continuity, a web of strings connecting entities. And finally, contextualization is essentially the manual or instruction pamphlet teaching you how to understand the previously mentioned webs and strings. For example, a dictionary can contextualize or give context to concepts like nouns and verbs. The reason I mention this is not to over-explain a universally understood topic, but instead put emphasis on the universal importance of the 3 C's. For example, here in America, everyone above and below a certain age without a doubt knows what Avatar is. Avatar: The Last Airbender was a very well received show for good reason, but beyond the elegant blending of mature and more child-oriented writing, the interesting interactions between characters, the rich world building, and the well choreographed fights, the source of Avatar's appeal is a web of well-defined connections. What's probably the most iconic element of the show is its magic system, bending. Bending in Avatar works pretty intuitively. You do a physical action, the result is an immediate elemental action. There are a few nuances like while Avatar's bending system may seem simple, it has one critical quality which makes it interesting and stay interesting. This quality being connection. You see, while Michael DiMartino and Brian Konaketsko made most of the conceptual work for the show, a man known as Svphvr also played a pivotal role. He was the martial artist consultant, and his skill set was used to make each bending style feel unique. The flighty evasive footwork of airbending is just Bagua Zhang. Water bending's heavy use of flowing and arcing motions comes from Tai Chi. Hanga Qian, with its wide stances and heavy attacks, was the basis for earthbending, and Northern Shaolin Kung Fu, with its sharp aggressive onslaughts, was the foundation for firebending. These connections to the real world is what makes bending feel so natural. While other power systems need explanations and re-explanations when characters will get tired, casting too many spells, and then the show has to explain the whole casting system's version of stamina or mana capacity, and then there's elemental advantages, and of course, with different types of magic, like enhancers and conjurers, which makes sense, but then there's specialists and Jinchurikis as too, and then there's heavenly packs and Mangekis. Aksharians are connected because they have the same genes or something throughout heaven and earth. Bro! And throughout heaven and earth, I am the true tweakster, yada yada yada. But Avatar prevents all this by directly connecting bending to martial arts. This is why so many people like the system and why it's so iconic. Avatar's magic system is what happens when you take the basic elements of nature and connect them to martial arts. It's a very easy to understand and a very powerful connection. When Darth Vader clenches his hand to force choke someone, you don't question why he's clenching his hand. It's obvious. You don't question why Superman pumps his fist when he flies, or why Chase waves his arms when he uses telekinesis. Connecting movements to magic looks good every single time. This is common knowledge, but connecting different elements within defined characteristic martial arts was a genius move. Not only do characters move with their element, but they move as their element would. And that's the difference between this amazing scene from Mushoku Tensei in this amazing scene from Avatar.
One who draws power from the moon. My bending is more powerful than yours, Hama. Your technique is useless on me.
The Avatar's use of strong connections doesn't end there. The Fire Nation's global assault parallels the imperialism and colonialism found in our world. The genocide of the air nomads is shockingly realistic, and the censorship of the Earth Nation is all too familiar. I could talk about Avatar for an entire video, and I may sometime in the future, but to prove how universally necessary connections are, I'll need to diversify my examples. Which leads me into my next example, Minecraft. You see, what I want to know is what makes Minecraft. I'm just messing, but Minecraft actually is a good example to use. Part of the reason Minecraft is so compelling is that there are a lot of connections. Firstly, effectively every block that makes up the world can be broken and placed on a grid that makes up the world as well. A connection so obvious I hardly have to mention it, but this simple rule is universal, which lets you quite literally connect blocks together and allows you to build a diverse set of structures with widely different appearances and functions, while still maintaining a consistent look due to the limited block palette, which lets players who see Minecraft think, oh, that's a cool Minecraft build, and not, oh, that's a weird 3D model. If you couldn't tell by now, this limited block palette helps players and viewers alike put any picture of the game in context. This is the reason why Legos are so popular as well. Because when the average person sees this extrusion and this intrusion, you make a connection. And that connection allows you to make a multitude of structures. This simple connection that anyone can understand, that is exacerbated by the continuity or rather the consistency of the rule, allows players to formulate unique connections to make personalized structures. And it's for this reason why both Minecraft and Lego are so widely enjoyed. And honestly, we could be here all day, because connection, continuity, and contextualization as a principle extends to character design as well. And what better example of iconic and good character designs than the behemoth that is the Pokémon franchise? You see, Pokémon's emphasis on combining animals, aspects of nature, and a bit of intelligence, danger, and/or cuteness factor into their designs contributes to their widespread appeal. Like for example, if you looked at a naked mole rat, you'd think to yourself, this thing is an idiot, because his eyes are on the sides of his head. But if you look at the mouse Pokemon Pikachu, you think that thing's intelligent, because his eyes are in the front of his head. This is part of the reason why eating a cute little doggy seems so horrible, but eating a chicken seems fine. Pikachu was made to look more intelligent than a literal rodent, because no one wants to stare at a literal rodent. Same thing with the deer Pokemon, Deerling. Its eyes are on the sides of its head, but compared to an actual deer, its head is much bigger and its snout is much smaller. The reason its head is big is obviously to resemble early American cartoons, which resemble babies, but what's less obvious is the snout shrinkage. Deerling's snout was made small to more resemble a cat's. To us humans, cat noses look cute, and any snout larger than dogs loses points. It's for this reason why capybaras are kinda cute, while anteaters look dumb as shit. It's also why anime characters and cutesy art styles are straight at cat noses, like the cat, their noses are just like, literally tiny nubs. It's also why humanoid robots or slapping a face on a literal sponge is considered iconic. These character designs were constructed to make our minds make the necessary connections for them to be appealing. This principle extends to tabletop games as well. A game like Uno is really simple. First to 0 cards wins, so cards like draw 2 and draw 4 are especially annoying. You can only discard cards of active colors unless your card has the same face as the active card, which is unlikely. Uno has simple rules which allows people to make connections in their head about potential actions within the context of the rulebook, guiding them on what to do next, aka strategy. Considering this, you can understand why the game is so popular. Another tabletop game that's a bit less universally loved is Yu-Gi-Oh! You see, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sucks. I kinda don't like it. I mean, it's alright. You see, I love the look of this card called Ebon the Illusion Magician. The problem is that you have to use the Dark Magician archetype for him to be any good. And the deck I use is a simple Dark Magician x Dark Magician Girls. A simple pairing that has a lot of interactions. So my main strategy is stalling with the Dark Magician Girls, which basically makes it really hard for you to attack by rerouting attacks and special summoning monsters during the battle phase. While that's happening, I usually want to get Dark Magicians and Dark Magician Girls out on the field with cards like Magician Navigation, Bond between Teacher and Student, Keeper, Dragon Magic, etc. And if I get enough powerful monsters in the field, I contribute them and summon more powerful monsters like Poinsett Magician or Ebon the Illusion Magician. Now, if that sounded complicated, it's because it was, and I completely excluded Magician Souls, Rope, Rod, and Magician of Dark Illusions for the sake of simplicity. And that's not even to mention the over 300 archetypes and their abilities. What we call strategy is putting future actions within context, but players can't do that when they have to face against cards like this. And there's a little dragon made archetype, and I don't even know what link monsters are. They just have like defense. They actually no, they don't have defense values, and they have skystone arrows on them for some reason. Like, it's just too much. It's too much, man. Anyways, anyways. All this highlights the sort of subjective nature of all this. Different brains can make connections about different things better than others. For example, someone who's really good at academics or regurgitating information might be bad at applying common sense. And someone who's good at attracting people might be bad at fostering a normal, non-manipulative relationship. And it's this reason why Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't for everyone. Because not everyone's brain actually gets this stuff. But it isn't to say Uno or Yu-Gi-Oh! Trump the other. I just say that they attract different people, and I think they would be happier with different people. So yeah, connections, continuity, and contextualization are very important in a medium, and it's basically like why any media you like is good. Yeah. I love it, man.